This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Man shot dead, another injured in Red Gal Ring. The St. Andrew North Police are now probing last night's murder of one man and the injury of another at a Red Gal Ring in the parish last night. The incident occurred about 9:30 p.m. This morning, bloodstains still visible on the ground told the tale of the tragedy 12 hours earlier. It is reported that Danny Barrett, 37, a bearer of a Maryland district to St. Andrew, went to the location to meet a woman he would be seen for the first time. Barrett and 3 others, including 2 female teenagers, were in a parked car when men aboard a black motor car drove up and opened fire. He was hit in the head, neck, and abdomen. The driver of the car was also shot in his leg. The shooters then drove away. The injured man managed to drive to the Kingston Public Hospital, where Barrett was pronounced dead. Mechanic shot dead at illegal Clarendon bike show. A 48-year-old mechanic was shot dead at an illegal bike show in Woodhall, Clarendon last night. He has been identified as Marlon Summon of Denby Crescent, also in Clarendon. The Maypen police say about 8:15 p.m., someone was standing along the roadway when he was pounced upon by armed men who opened gunfire, hitting him several times. The police were alerted, and on their arrival, someone was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. St. Thomas records 13th road fatality. St. Thomas yesterday recorded its 13th road fatality for 2021 when a motorist was thrown from his vehicle as it crashed while he was overtaking another. 46-year-old farm worker Noel Augustus Folks of Landui in the parish was pronounced dead at hospital. The police said sometime after 5 p.m., Folks, who was driving a silver AD wagon along the Albion to Yallas Main Road, attempted to overtake another vehicle. Folks lost control and was flung from his vehicle. The vehicle then hit a utility pole before falling on Folks. Passers-by lifted the vehicle and rushed him to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. In the past week, there have been 2 crashes, 1 fatal in the vicinity. 2 other victims were hospitalized. Electricity issues trigger water supply problems in Clarendon. The National Water Commission customers served by the Woodside facility in Clarendon are now experiencing water problems because of a problem with the power supply. The affected areas are Woodside, Pleasant Valley, Racetrack, Rose Hall, Pennant Wood, Jacob's Hut, Lower Denby, Folger Road, Midland Glades, and Glenmore Housing Scheme. The NWC says normal operations will resume as soon as the power supply issue is corrected. 31-year-old man shot dead in St. James. A man was shot and killed during a gun attack in the Montego Hills area of St. James on Friday. Dead is 31-year-old Akiel Carvalho of a St. James address. Residents reportedly heard loud explosions in the area sometime after 11 p.m. Friday and notified the police. On their arrival, Carvalho was found suffering from gunshot wounds. He was taken to the hospital where he died while undergoing treatment. The police have not yet identified a motive for the killing, as their investigations is still ongoing. Shop safely this festive season, security expert cautions. It's the most wonderful time of the year, but it's also a time when criminals are most active. A local security expert is therefore urging shoppers, particularly senior citizens, to be cautious when conducting business and traversing public spaces this festive season. Unfortunately, senior citizens can be more vulnerable to crime, including theft or financial scams, said Hopeton Thomas, security manager at the JN Bank. For most seniors, shopping online might be the preferred option, as many choose to go shopping in person, which means they need to be extra vigilant. Thomas said seniors should ensure they are always aware of their surroundings. Put yourself in a position where it's difficult for someone to surprise you, he advised. This is one of the most important things you can do to ensure your personal safety, particularly when you are making cash transactions, he said. This means you should avoid accepting help from strangers and also check to ensure that no one is loitering around your car if you drive, he said. Thomas also said seniors should practice locking their car doors as soon as they are inside. If possible, seniors should take along with them a trusted friend or family member when shopping, he said. The security expert further cautioned individuals to be aware of shoulder surfing when standing in line at crowded supermarkets and stores. Shoulder surfers are people who will get access to your personal information, such as your PINs and passwords, by looking over your shoulder while standing behind you in a line. Therefore, I always advise the persons to be careful when accessing their online banking information on their phones or any other electronic device while in public, he stated. The reality is that, despite the physical distancing protocols due to the novel coronavirus pandemic, there are those who insist on ignoring the guidelines, some out of habit, others because they have an ulterior motive, he warned. Thomas warned that some of these people may be shoulder surfers. When you are in the supermarket or anywhere else, if you must transfer money or check your balances, do so in a secured spot prior to joining the line. In addition, always protect your PIN by covering the keypad as you complete your transaction, Thomas said. The security expert also advised the senior shoppers to avoid walking around with lots of cash. If you must use cash, separate your money early. For example, before leaving home or discreetly in the car, before going into a shop, so that you are not forced to be counting money in full view of everyone, he advised. He noted that seniors should always observe their surroundings prior to using the ATM. If the machine is obstructed from view or poorly lit, visit another ATM. Lock the door and always shield the screen and the keyboard so that anyone waiting to use the ATM cannot see as you enter your PIN or transaction amount, he advised. He said, too, that seniors should always secure their cash and card before exiting the ATM. You would be surprised to know that there are still persons who count their cash after they move away from the ATM in full view of everyone waiting outside. That is a no-no, he warned. Double murder in Water Lane, Central Kingston. 2 men were fatally shot in their community of Water Lane, Central Kingston early this morning. The men have been identified only by their aliases Mario and Black Bottle. Both men were shot multiple times and pronounced dead at hospital. The Central Kingston police are investigating. No Merry Christmas for convicted businessman Stephen Coswell. Businessman Stephen Coswell has lost his bid to go to the United Kingdom Privy Council to challenge his conviction for the murder of his girlfriend 13 years ago. The Court of Appeal last week refused an application by Coswell to be granted leave to take the case to the Privy Council. Coswell is serving a life sentence for the 2008 murder of Nadia Mitchell at her Oakland Apartments home on Constant Spring Road in St. Andrew. It was heard in court that Coswell and Mitchell were involved in a relationship for about 8 years. At the time of her death, she had started another relationship in early 2008. On July 16 of that year, Coswell visited Mitchell at her apartment. A statement from the police said Coswell told a lawman that Mitchell had invited him to the premises, but shortly after arriving, they got into a fight and he punched her in the eye. He told law enforcers that he left the apartment and later returned, at which point he saw Mitchell lying motionless on the ground. He said he took her to the hospital where her death was confirmed. At the trial, Coswell denied that he killed Mitchell. To aid the prosecution's case against the then accused, the pathologist who performed the autopsy on Mitchell's body testified that the cause of death was subdural hemorrhage and a cerebral contusion. Both were caused by bruising of the brain as a result of blunt force injury to Mitchell's head, likely with the use of a blunt object. Coswell was found guilty by a jury in September 2016 and sentenced to life imprisonment. He was ordered to serve a minimum of 20 years in jail before being eligible for parole consideration. He lost the case on appeal and subsequently filed an application for leave to appeal the sentence and the conviction by a single judge of the appeal court in February 2019 but that was rejected. The convict then renewed the application, and it was heard by a full appeal court panel consisting of 3 judges between October 16, 17, and 18 of 2019 and November 18, 2020. On the latter date, the Court of Appeal dismissed Coswell's appeal and affirmed his conviction and the sentence. Not accepting that outcome, Coswell, through his attorney, filed an application for leave to go to the UK Privy Council, and the matter was heard between July and December of this year. He contended that he was not given a fair trial due to a delay of 8 years for his trial to be held, which he claimed breached his right to a fair trial within a reasonable time as outlined by the Jamaican Constitution. Further, he claimed that during that time frame, evidence and witnesses which could support his case were either lost or became otherwise unavailable. Coswell also suggested that the then trial judge failed to put his case adequately to the jury, which he said was unfair to him. In its written judgment published on last week, the Court of Appeal said Coswell has failed to satisfy this court that any of the questions call for an interpretation of the constitutional provisions said to be engaged. In relation to Coswell's right to a fair trial, the appeal court said that even though the police had breached their duty to collect all relevant evidence, the applicant's constitutional right to a fair trial had not been breached. In concluding its judgment on the leave for application that Coswell filed, the tribunal determined that the bar has not been met for us to conclude that the issues raised and the questions posed by the applicant raise any questions of exceptional public importance wherein it is desirable in the public interest that a further appeal should be brought. We therefore make the following order. The motion for conditional leave to appeal to Her Majesty in Council filed on December 8, 2020 is refused, the judges ruled. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.